There are qualities in a woman that the world can see easily. Her charm, her beauty, her intelligence measured by degrees or achievements. But then there are qualities that cannot be captured by photographs or reduced to a resume. These are invisible traits, silent yet powerful, that shape the way she moves through life and touches the hearts of those around her. They are not loud, they do not demand attention, yet their presence is undeniable. They belong to the realm of spiritual intelligence, a kind of wisdom that goes deeper than logic, deeper than personality, even deeper than knowledge. Carl Jung, the great thinker of depth psychology, believed that the soul carries patterns and wisdom far older than the surface mind. He saw that a truly intelligent person is not just someone who thinks clearly, but someone who feels deeply, reflects honestly, and lives in harmony with truths that transcend the ego. For women who embody this, spiritual intelligence becomes their quiet crown. They may not even realize how extraordinary they are, but their presence has a way of shifting the atmosphere around them. A woman with spiritual intelligence is not guided solely by external rewards. She is not chasing validation or applause. Instead, she lives with an awareness of her inner world, her emotions, her values, her shadows, and her light. She is able to face herself honestly, and because of that, she is able to face life with grace. These invisible traits are not taught in classrooms or displayed on social media. They are cultivated in silence, in moments of solitude, in times of struggle, and in the choices she makes when no one is watching. What makes these traits remarkable is that they cannot be faked. Deep self-awareness, empathy that transcends words, intuitive understanding of situations, calmness in the face of challenges, a strong sense of purpose, and connection with higher values. These qualities come only through lived experience and a willingness to grow from it. They are invisible not because they are absent, but because they live beneath the surface, quietly shaping who she is and how she shows up in the world. When others rush, she pauses. When others judge, she understands. When others collapse under pressure, she stands calmly, not because she feels no fear, but because she knows how to hold fear without letting it control her. Her life is not perfect, but it is authentic. Her choices may not always be easy, but they are aligned. And in this alignment, she discovers a peace that the world cannot easily shake. This is what makes her different. She is not simply surviving. She is living with meaning. She is not just existing, she is embodying wisdom. And though the world may overlook these invisible traits, those who encounter her know instinctively that they are in the presence of something rare. It is this quiet power, this unseen intelligence, that Carl Jung pointed toward. And it is this essence that we now explore in the 6 invisible traits of women with high spiritual intelligence. Deep self-awareness and reflection. Deep self-awareness and reflection are often described as the hidden pillars of true spiritual intelligence. When a woman possesses this quality, it means she has cultivated an inner space where she can pause, look within, and understand not only her actions but also the deeper motives behind them. Unlike ordinary awareness, which only observes the surface of life, deep self-awareness allows her to recognize the roots of her emotions, the patterns of her behavior, and the forces that shape her decisions. Reflection becomes the mirror where she can see both her strengths and her shadows with honesty. A woman with this invisible trait does not move blindly through life. She notices how her thoughts shift in different situations, how her emotions rise and fall, and how her choices create ripples in the lives of others. She understands that every reaction she has, whether anger, joy, jealousy, or compassion, carries a story from her past, a belief she holds, or a wound that has not fully healed. Instead of running away from these emotions, she turns toward them, using reflection as a way to heal and grow. This makes her presence strikingly different. She radiates a kind of stability because she is not afraid of meeting herself in silence. Deep self-awareness also brings humility. A spiritually intelligent woman knows she is not perfect, and she does not pretend to be. Instead, she accepts her imperfections as teachers. When she fails, she asks, "What can I learn from this?" When she succeeds, she still reflects, "How can I stay grounded in this moment?" This humility becomes a magnet for trust, because people around her sense that she is real, not performing or wearing masks. Her ability to be truthful with herself translates into an ability to be truthful with others. Reflection gives her clarity in decision-making. In a world full of noise, distractions, and constant demands, she does not simply react to what is happening around her. She withdraws inward, listens to her intuition, and reflects on her values before taking action. This is why others often describe her as calm under pressure. She has trained herself to pause before responding, to examine what her heart and mind are truly saying, and to choose the path that aligns with her deeper wisdom. While others might rush into conflict, she chooses patience. While others might chase validation, she chooses authenticity. This clarity is not born overnight. It is the fruit of years of honest reflection. Deep self-awareness also strengthens her relationships. Because she understands her own emotions, she does not project them recklessly onto others. She can admit when she is wrong, apologize without shame, and forgive without bitterness. People close to her feel safe because they sense she is not living unconsciously but intentionally. She does not manipulate or control to protect her ego. Instead, she reflects on her role in every interaction and takes responsibility for her energy. This makes her both a nurturing presence and a strong one, someone who can hold space for others without losing herself. This trait also allows her to see patterns in her life. She notices when the same challenges repeat and reflects on why they keep returning. Instead of blaming fate or other people, she asks what lesson life is trying to teach her. This perspective transforms suffering into growth and hardship into wisdom. People may wonder how she endures struggles with such grace, but the truth is that her reflection reshapes her pain into meaning. She understands that every experience, even the painful ones, can become a stepping stone if faced with awareness. On a deeper level, this invisible trait connects her to something larger than herself. Through reflection, she learns that her inner world is not separate from the outer world, and that her growth impacts the collective around her. When she heals an old wound through awareness, she also breaks cycles of pain that could have continued in her family or community. She becomes a silent force of transformation, not through grand speeches, but through the quiet power of her self-knowledge. A woman with deep self-awareness and reflection lives with intention. She knows her triggers, her fears, her desires, and her strengths. She can sit in solitude without restlessness, because her inner world is rich with understanding. This makes her magnetic because in a world where most people are running from themselves, she is one of the rare few who has learned to sit still and listen. Her intelligence is not only measured by what she knows outwardly, but by the depth of her insight inwardly. In essence, this trait is the heartbeat of spiritual intelligence. It is the starting point from which all other qualities, empathy, intuition, purpose, calmness, flow. Without self-awareness, love becomes dependency, faith becomes blind belief, and success becomes empty. But with self-awareness, everything becomes rooted in authenticity. A woman who reflects deeply does not fear losing herself in the noise of the world, because she has already found herself in the silence of her own soul. This inner strength, invisible yet undeniable, is what makes her truly extraordinary. Empathy. That transcends words. Empathy. That transcends words is one of the most powerful yet invisible traits a woman with high spiritual intelligence can embody. While many people are capable of listening or showing kindness, this deeper form of empathy goes beyond simply hearing another person's pain or offering polite comfort. It is a presence, a resonance of the heart, a way of feeling another's emotions so profoundly that words often become unnecessary. When a woman carries this gift, people around her instinctively feel safe, seen, and understood, even without a single explanation. At its core, this empathy is not about fixing problems or giving advice. Instead, it is about holding space. When someone is grieving, she doesn't rush to say, "It will be okay." Instead, she sits with them in their silence, allowing the weight of their emotions to exist without judgment. Her presence communicates, "You don't have to carry this alone." This quiet companionship often speaks louder than words ever could, because it reflects a deep emotional maturity, the ability to witness pain without turning away. Such empathy requires a refined sensitivity to energy and emotion. She notices what others miss: the tremor in a friend's voice, the hesitation in a partner's story, the subtle sadness behind a forced smile. These observations are not logical calculations but intuitive perceptions, born from her openness to feel beyond herself. Her emotional boundaries are not rigid walls but gentle doors, allowing her to step into another's experience without losing her own center. People often say, "She just gets me," because her empathy doesn't rely on explanations. She feels the truth beneath the words. This ability transforms her relationships. Friends, family, and even strangers often confide in her because they sense she will not dismiss or minimize their feelings. She doesn't respond with cliches, but with presence. A simple look, a soft nod, or even her quiet stillness communicates volumes. It is as though she is fluent in the unspoken language of the heart. This makes her an anchor in moments of chaos, a source of comfort in times of fear, and a mirror of compassion in moments of shame. Empathy that transcends words is also an act of courage. It requires her to lower her defenses, to allow herself to feel the raw emotions of others without shutting down. Many people avoid empathy because it feels overwhelming, but she embraces it as a path to connection. Her willingness to feel deeply comes from a spiritual intelligence that recognizes all human beings are interconnected. By understanding another's pain, she does not weaken. She strengthens the bond of humanity. This invisible trait often extends beyond personal relationships into how she interacts with the world. She might be moved by the suffering of people she has never met or feel compassion for animals, nature, or even collective struggles she reads about. Her heart stretches beyond her immediate circle because her empathy is not selective. It flows freely wherever there is pain or need. She cannot simply turn away from injustice or suffering because her inner compass urges her to acknowledge it. At the same time, her empathy is not naive. She learns to balance it with discernment, knowing when to listen, when to comfort, and when to step back. Without this balance, empathy could become a burden. But with reflection and self-awareness, she channels it wisely. She understands that true empathy does not mean carrying another's pain as her own, but walking beside them so they feel less alone. In this balance lies the strength of her spiritual intelligence. What makes this empathy transcendent is its transformative power. People who experience her presence often feel lighter, clearer, or more hopeful, even if nothing in their situation has changed. It is not her words, but her ability to share the emotional weight that creates this shift. She becomes a living reminder that being understood is one of the deepest human needs, and she fulfills it not with explanations, but with soulful connection. In a world where words are often overused and feelings are often hidden, this kind of empathy is rare. It requires openness, courage, and a willingness to feel beyond the self. Yet, for a spiritually intelligent woman, it is second nature. Her empathy flows like water, gentle, adaptable, and nourishing to everyone it touches. And though invisible to the eye, it is felt by the heart as one of the clearest proofs of her inner wisdom and strength. Intuitive understanding of situations. Intuitive understanding of situations is one of those rare qualities that reveals itself quietly, yet its impact is undeniable. For a woman with high spiritual intelligence, intuition is not a mystical trick or a fleeting guess. It is a finely tuned awareness that allows her to sense the undercurrents of life before they rise to the surface. Where others may only see the obvious facts or hear the spoken words, she perceives the unspoken, the subtle energies, and the deeper truths that shape reality. This invisible trait makes her presence magnetic, because people quickly realize that she sees beyond appearances. Her intuitive understanding works like an inner compass. She can walk into a room and instantly feel the emotional climate without anyone saying a word. She notices the tension in the air, the unexpressed conflict between people, or the hidden kindness that others overlook. This isn't because she's watching more closely. It's because her inner sensitivity allows her to tune into what is often left unsaid. She doesn't rely solely on logic to make sense of situations. Instead, she blends perception, feeling, and subtle cues into a whole picture that others might miss. This kind of intuition often shows up in small but powerful ways. She might sense when a friend is lying about being fine, even if their smile looks convincing. She may anticipate conflict in a workplace before it explodes. She might even know the right moment to speak or stay silent, as though she can feel the rhythm of events before they unfold. People around her sometimes describe her as lucky, or always knowing the right thing to do, but it isn't luck. It's her spiritual intelligence guiding her through intuition. Such understanding is not always comfortable. Intuition reveals truths that others may prefer to ignore. A woman with this gift might recognize dishonesty in someone others trust, or sense manipulation beneath charm. She sees patterns in relationships and situations that predict outcomes long before they become obvious. This can be isolating at times because people don't always want to hear uncomfortable truths. Yet she carries this insight with humility, choosing carefully when to share it and when to simply hold it as awareness. Her intuitive nature also helps her navigate challenges. When logic fails or plans collapse, she turns inward and listens to her instincts. This doesn't mean she rejects reason. Rather, she uses intuition as a guide to see possibilities that reason alone cannot reveal. In moments of uncertainty, she may feel pulled toward a decision that doesn't make sense to others at first, but later proves to be the wisest path. This is why she often appears calm during chaos. She trusts her inner knowing even when circumstances look unstable. Relationships are also transformed by her intuitive understanding. She can feel when someone she loves is troubled without them saying a word. She anticipates needs, offers comfort at the right time, and senses when space is more healing than words. Her loved ones may not always realize how deeply she perceives them, but they feel the effects of her insight. She makes people feel understood at a level beyond conversation, because she is attuned not only to what they say, but to what they mean and feel. This trait connects her to a greater flow of life. Intuition in her case is not random. It emerges from her alignment with her inner self and the world around her. By being self-aware and reflective, she has cleared away much of the inner noise that clouds perception. What remains is clarity, a channel open enough to pick up the subtle signals that life constantly sends. She trusts these signals because she has tested them over time, learning to distinguish between fear-driven impulses and true intuitive guidance. Intuitive understanding of situations is also a form of wisdom. It allows her to see connections that others miss, to recognize the deeper meaning in events, and to respond in ways that create harmony rather than conflict. Where others might force outcomes, she flows with timing, sensing when to act and when to wait. This wisdom makes her a natural guide to others, not through lectures but through her example. She models what it means to live with trust in one's inner knowing. In the end, this invisible trait is not about predicting the future or reading minds. It is about perceiving the truth beneath the surface of life. A woman with this gift carries an unshakable sense that she is guided, that life speaks in whispers for those willing to listen. Her intuition helps her avoid pitfalls, nurture relationships, and choose paths that align with her highest values. To those around her, it may look like a quiet mystery, but to her, it is simply the natural expression of her spiritual intelligence. And in every moment she trusts her intuition. She reaffirms the timeless truth. Wisdom is not only learned, it is also felt. Calmness in the face of challenges. Calmness in the face of challenges is one of the most striking traits a woman with high spiritual intelligence embodies. While others may panic, grow restless, or lash out when difficulties arise, she carries herself with a steady presence that feels almost unshakable. This calmness is not the absence of fear or stress. Rather, it is the mastery of how she responds to them. It comes from a deep place of inner trust, a quiet belief that every situation, no matter how overwhelming, has meaning and can be faced with strength. When life throws sudden obstacles her way, she doesn't react impulsively. Instead, she pauses. That pause is her power. In it, she allows herself to breathe, to reflect, and to choose her response rather than being consumed by the chaos around her. Others may see this as extraordinary self-control, but for her, it is a natural extension of the inner work she has done. Through reflection and self-awareness, she has learned that no challenge is truly solved by panic. Solutions reveal themselves most clearly in stillness. This calmness radiates outward. In the middle of conflicts, she often becomes the anchor others rely on. Her voice remains steady when tempers rise, and her presence alone can ease tension in the room. People feel reassured around her because she does not magnify problems with unnecessary drama. Instead, she absorbs the storm quietly, holding her ground until the winds pass. This ability makes her a natural leader in times of crisis, not because she seeks control, but because her calm becomes contagious. What makes her calmness unique is that it does not deny the weight of the challenge. She feels the difficulty, the uncertainty, and even the fear, but she does not let those emotions dictate her actions. She acknowledges them, reflects on them, and then channels them into clarity. This is a key mark of spiritual intelligence. She doesn't try to escape reality, but she refuses to be enslaved by it. Her calmness is not numbness. It is conscious presence. This quality also gives her resilience. While others may crumble under prolonged stress, she adapts. She views obstacles as teachers, each one offering a lesson in patience, strength, or surrender. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" she reframes it as, "What is this teaching me?" This shift in perspective allows her to endure hardship without bitterness. The challenge becomes a stepping stone, not a stumbling block, because she remains centered within herself. Calmness in the face of challenges also strengthens her relationships. In difficult times, people turn to her not only for advice, but for the peace she brings. A friend in crisis feels understood when she listens without judgment. A partner under stress finds comfort in her steady support. Even in disagreements, she does not escalate the conflict. She creates space for dialogue. This ability to stay grounded makes her a stabilizing force, someone who transforms tension into trust. Her calmness is rooted in her connection to something greater than herself. Spiritual intelligence gives her the awareness that life is bigger than any single problem. She trusts the flow of time, the unfolding of events, and the deeper wisdom of the universe. This trust allows her to release control over what she cannot change and focus on what she can. By surrendering the illusion of total control, she finds freedom, and in that freedom, peace. Yet her calm is not always quiet. Sometimes it takes the form of graceful action. In a crisis, she can step forward, make decisions, and take responsibility without losing her composure. Her calmness gives her clarity, and clarity guides her actions. She does not freeze when faced with pressure. She moves with purpose. Her strength lies not in fighting the storm, but in navigating it with balance. In truth, this calmness is a gift she offers not only to herself, but to the world around her. Families, friendships, and communities thrive when at least one person can remain centered amidst chaos. She becomes that center. People may not always notice it immediately, but they feel it. They feel steadier, safer, and more hopeful in her presence. And though she may not boast about it, her calmness quietly changes lives, one moment of peace at a time. Ultimately, calmness in the face of challenges is not about denying hardship. It is about meeting it with dignity. It is the ability to stand in the storm and say, "This too shall pass." It is the quiet power of knowing that strength is not measured by how loudly one fights, but by how gracefully one endures. For a spiritually intelligent woman, calmness is not just a trait. It is her essence, the invisible shield that allows her to walk through fire without letting it consume her. Strong sense of purpose and meaning. Strong sense of purpose and meaning is one of the most defining traits of a woman with high spiritual intelligence. While many people move through life chasing trends, material goals, or the expectations of others, she lives guided by an inner compass that points to something deeper. Her choices are not random. Her actions are not impulsive. Everything she does is tied to a greater vision of who she is and why she exists. This sense of purpose is invisible on the surface, but it radiates through her words, her work, and the way she carries herself. People around her often feel that she knows where she is going, even when the path is uncertain. At the heart of this trait is clarity. She has taken the time to reflect on her values, her passions, and her calling. She does not measure her worth by the shifting opinions of others, because her identity is rooted in meaning. This makes her resilient in a world that constantly pressures women to conform. While others may bend under the weight of external demands, she stands firm because she knows her why. That why may be nurturing her family with love, dedicating herself to meaningful work, helping others heal, or simply living with authenticity. Whatever form it takes, her purpose gives her life a sense of direction that cannot be shaken by temporary setbacks. This deep sense of meaning is what gives her strength during challenges. When she encounters hardship, she doesn't see it as senseless suffering, but as part of a larger journey. Obstacles become lessons, failures become stepping stones, and pain becomes a teacher. Because her life is anchored in purpose, she finds meaning even in adversity. This outlook transforms the way she handles struggles, giving her the power to endure with grace rather than despair. She doesn't ask, "Why me?" Instead, she asks, "What can this moment add to my growth and my mission?" That shift in perspective is the essence of spiritual intelligence. Her sense of purpose also shapes the way she interacts with others. She does not seek shallow relationships or meaningless conversations. She gravitates toward depth, honesty, and authenticity. People feel inspired by her because she is not drifting aimlessly. She is living intentionally. Even in small acts of kindness, she radiates meaning. Whether she is comforting a friend, pursuing her career, or nurturing her spiritual growth, she does it with a fullness that comes from knowing her life matters beyond the surface. This trait also protects her from distractions. In a world filled with noise, social media comparisons, societal expectations, fleeting pleasures, she is not easily swayed. She may enjoy beauty, success, or recognition, but these are not her anchors. Her anchor is purpose. She asks herself whether a decision aligns with her deeper values, and if it doesn't, she has the courage to walk away. This makes her choices powerful, because they are not made from fear or pressure but from conviction. A strong sense of purpose and meaning also makes her a light for others. People drawn into her orbit often find themselves reflecting on their own lives, inspired by her clarity and authenticity. She becomes a guide without trying to be one. Her presence encourages others to seek their own meaning, to stop living on autopilot and start living intentionally. She does not preach. She simply lives in a way that awakens others. That is the quiet power of purpose. It ripples outward. Her spiritual intelligence allows her to connect her individual journey to something larger than herself. She understands that her actions affect the world, that her growth contributes to the collective. This awareness deepens her sense of responsibility. She does not live only for personal gain, but for a vision that includes service, contribution, and love. Whether in small ways or great ones, she wants her life to leave a meaningful imprint. This sense of calling keeps her grounded even when life feels uncertain. Purpose also fuels her joy. She does not need constant external validation because she finds fulfillment in simply walking her path. There is a quiet satisfaction in knowing that her life aligns with her soul. Others may chase recognition and still feel empty, but she feels full even in solitude, because her purpose is her companion. It whispers to her when she feels lost, reminding her that she is on the right track. Ultimately, this strong sense of purpose and meaning is what transforms her life from ordinary to extraordinary. It gives her the courage to make difficult choices, the wisdom to endure hardships, and the joy to celebrate the small victories along the way. It shapes her identity, her relationships, and her contribution to the world. And though it may be invisible to the casual observer, it is the invisible fire that lights her path. For a woman with high spiritual intelligence, purpose is not a goal to be reached someday. It is the essence of how she lives every day. And in her example, she teaches others that life is not simply about survival or success, but about meaning. She shows that true fulfillment does not come from what we have, but from why we live. 6. Connection with inner wisdom and higher values. Connection with inner wisdom and higher values is the invisible crown a spiritually intelligent woman wears, though she never boasts of it. It is the compass that quietly directs her life, ensuring that every choice, every relationship, and every step she takes reflects the depth of her inner truth rather than the noise of the world around her. While many people chase external validation, shifting their decisions to please others or fit into society's molds, she listens inward. Her wisdom is not secondhand. It is born from reflection, experience, and alignment with principles that transcend fleeting desires. This connection gives her a steady source of guidance. Instead of relying only on logic or reacting to emotions in the heat of the moment, she tunes into her inner voice, a voice refined through self-awareness and spiritual growth. It is not the loud, anxious chatter of fear, but the quiet, grounded whisper of intuition. When faced with crossroads, she can pause, close her eyes, and know the direction that feels true. People may ask how she always seems to make the right choices, and the answer is simple. She trusts her inner wisdom, even when it contradicts external pressures. Her higher values serve as her foundation. Honesty, compassion, dignity, and authenticity are not optional for her. They are non-negotiable. While others may compromise their principles for convenience, status, or short-term gain, she holds firm. This firmness does not come from stubbornness, but from clarity. She knows who she is and what she stands for. In business, in love, and in friendship, she refuses to betray her values because to her, living without integrity is worse than losing anything external. This connection also gives her strength in difficult times. When life feels unfair, her higher values remind her to act with grace rather than resentment. When she is tempted by shortcuts, her inner wisdom reminds her that true success comes from patience and authenticity. When others mistreat her, her values guide her not to seek revenge, but to maintain dignity. This doesn't mean she is passive. It means her power lies in choosing actions aligned with her truth rather than being dragged down by negativity. Relationships with her feel different because of this quality. People sense they can trust her because she lives from a place of alignment, not pretense. She does not manipulate, deceive, or play games. She listens deeply, speaks honestly, and treats others with respect, even when they don't offer the same in return. For her, connection is sacred, and she honors it by showing up authentically. This integrity builds bonds that are lasting and meaningful because they are rooted in values rather than convenience. Connection with inner wisdom also fuels her sense of peace. She doesn't feel as restless as those who are constantly pulled in different directions by trends, expectations, or desires. While the world chases more wealth, more recognition, more validation, she seeks depth. Her joy comes not from accumulation but from alignment. She knows that a quiet evening of reflection can be more fulfilling than 1,000 hollow pursuits. This peace radiates outward, calming those who spend time with her. This invisible trait also connects her to something larger than herself. She understands that her life is part of a greater whole, that her choices ripple outward into her community and beyond. Her higher values are not self-serving. They are rooted in service, love, and a desire to contribute positively to the world. She doesn't need applause for this. The fulfillment comes from knowing she is living truthfully. Whether through small acts of kindness or greater commitments to justice and compassion, she expresses her spiritual intelligence by living in harmony with higher principles. At times, her connection to inner wisdom can make her stand apart. She may choose paths that others don't understand because her decisions are guided not by popularity, but by authenticity. People may criticize her or question her choices, but she remains calm because she knows she is listening to something deeper. Her resilience comes from this alignment. When she walks with her values, she cannot be easily shaken. Ultimately, this connection with inner wisdom and higher values is what ties together all her other traits. Self-awareness, empathy, intuition, calmness, and purpose all flow from this wellspring. It is the invisible thread that weaves her inner and outer worlds into harmony. She lives not just for herself, but for truth, for love, and for the higher calling that whispers to her soul. For her, life is not random. Every experience, every challenge, every joy is an opportunity to live in alignment with wisdom and values that do not fade. And in doing so, she becomes more than just a woman navigating the world. She becomes a beacon of integrity, a reminder that true intelligence is not measured by what we know, but by how deeply we live in harmony with what is good, true, and eternal.